Chapter 6. Thursday mid-afternoon. When Doreen's phone rang again, she looked at it and sighed. "Hi, Mac. Please tell me that you're not in any trouble," he said by way of a hello. "What kind of trouble could I be in?" "Somebody saw the gardener running away from you and Nan at the patio. Shouldn't you be at home resting your ankle?" "Darren again?" she asked, rolling her eyes. "Another cop who worked with Mac and whose grandfather lived at Rosemore. And I am home. I just walked to Nan's and back. A short walk to ease my ankle into the movements." "Well, Darren didn't see it, but his grandfather did. Just make sure you don't overdo it." "I didn't see him anywhere." She chose to ignore the rest of his comment. "It's quite possible he was inside Nan's apartment," Mac said delicately. Doreen froze and then a sigh escaped. "Geez, that meant he heard everything we talked about." "Why didn't Nan tell me he was there?" she asked. "I nibbled on a cookie outside on the patio for at least an hour. I hate to think he was sitting inside waiting for her. I think he was trying to visit with her but didn't want to disturb you two." "That's just sad," she said. "He'd have been more than welcome to join us." "Maybe he just wanted to get away from the nurses. According to Darren, they're on his case about his diet." "Ha. He was probably stealing a cookie then from Nan," she said. "They were huge and totally stuffed with chocolate chips." "It sounds wonderful. You didn't bring a spare one home, did you?" Mac asked hopefully. "I meant to bring half of that one home," Doreen said regretfully, "but I ate the entire thing while I sat there talking with Nan." "So the gardener?" "Well, he left us, but it had nothing to do with me or the animals this time," she said. "Well, not directly. Thaddeus found these two little metal plates with dates and names on them, but the names and dates are hard to read. I took them with me when I went to have tea. I asked Nan, and she remembered something about the gardener's brother, Frank, having a tool repair shop or some such thing, and put these little tags on his creations." "Interesting." But she could tell Mac had already tuned out of their conversation. She smiled. "How are you doing?" "I'm doing okay," he said. "I was just checking in to make sure you were good. Have you recovered?" "Almost," she said. "Last week I was begging for 3 days of peace and quiet, but today I found myself bored out of my mind." "You could try living with boredom," he said. "It's good for the soul." "No, it's not," she said, laughing. "I got out and started digging in my backyard when Thaddeus brought me the first one of those little plate things." "They could be nothing," he said. "Well," she said, her voice turning suddenly cheerful as she walked out of her kitchen, "I did find a tool. On the way back from Nan's, we returned to where we'd found one plate. Out of the weeds and ivy that had taken over the area, I dug up something with a long handle down near the mouth of the river." "Interesting. What kind of tool?" "I'm not exactly sure. A sharp point at one end and more of a shovel blade at the other." "Ha." She could almost hear the frown in his voice. "It's not like Nan's old hoe, but yet it is somehow similar. But way heavier. Somebody probably just left it behind." "That's what I thought. Now I'm about to put on a pot of coffee and get back outside and start some more digging." "Any more thoughts on the deck?" "Yes, but I don't think I can do anything about it anytime soon," she said regretfully. "Scott said they're having to do some repairs on some of the furniture, plus the overall cleaning, and then the paintings needed a bit more in-depth cleaning as well, so it'll delay them going into the pre-auction catalog. That'll delay sales, which will delay me getting any money." "Ha," Mac said. "I suggest we sit down, take a look at how much of the deck materials we might scrounge from other people, and once we get enough of the parts and pieces, we can start your deck renovation." She liked the idea of that. "Do you think we can get any of these pieces and parts?" "That's why I'm bringing it up," he said. Because one of the guys here said he had a bunch of cinder blocks he doesn't need. And he's willing to sell them? Possibly, Mac said, but I've helped him out a couple times at his place, so we might just grab them for free. Her face lit up. Free. That's why I wanted to go over that plan of yours, to see just how many we needed. I think I noted at least 20. Doreen walked over to the little corner of the kitchen, where she had all her papers on that. She pulled out the pad of paper and said, "Yes, we've got 20 down here." "He's got 12, Mac said. "That would help a lot. We'd only need to get 8 more. I think I've got 2 around my place. I don't know for sure. I thought I saw them a couple months back. Mom might have some too." Wow. If we had those, we could get them in the ground and leveled off, ready for the next step, right? Exactly. I'll stop by after work and take a look at that plan of yours to make sure we have the right amount. Sure, Doreen said, or maybe go to your house and your mom's first and see how many you have. They're not very expensive, but when you have to buy 20, it can add up. Any penny we can save is a huge help. By the way, Nan also sent me home with some vegetables. Honestly, I didn't have any clue what a zucchini looked like before she gave them to me. Do you like zucchini? I'm not sure I've ever had it, she confessed. Except in bread. I took one, and then Nan tucked in a second little one, and also a bunch of lettuce and some green onions and tomatoes. Perfect, Mac said. You can use all that, can't you? At least the salad stuff I can, yes. I can't remember what we plan to do for our next cooking lesson meal together. I don't think we decided. Check what you've got in the freezer. I will. Do you want to come for dinner tonight then? She walked to her freezer and pulled out what looked like a pack of meat. I think it's pork chops, she said. They're frozen though. Too bad you don't have a barbecue. We could do barbecued pork chops and zucchini strips. Can you barbecue those things? She walked to the paper bag and pulled out the zucchini. It's long and skinny. Do you bake it whole? He chuckled. You can make thick slices, oil them, and put them on the grill. Or you can slice them and sauté them. All kinds of stuff you can do with zucchini. I have a few mushrooms in the fridge too, she said. Take out the pork chops to thaw, and we can have those for dinner. At least this way I can make sure you're not involved in any new cases. Remember, you're supposed to be recuperating, not getting into more trouble. And with that, he hung up. She laughed. Look at that, she said to the others. Mac is worried about us. Muggs woofed, and she noted he stood beside his empty food dish. It is past lunchtime, isn't it, buddy? I'm the one who ate a cookie, not you, and from the looks of it, you are hungry. She fed him, and then gave Goliath a little more dry food in his dish. Next, she brought out a few seeds to put down for Thaddeus. After that, it was time to feed herself. She returned to the fridge and opened it up. Some bread and cheese were left, and she now had fresh lettuce and tomato, so her belated lunch sounded like a sandwich for her. And she was totally okay with that. As far as she was concerned, a sandwich was a basic necessity of life. It didn't mean other people agreed with her, but hey, that was okay. She made a sandwich and then sat down at the veranda table outside. The deck was too tiny for the cafe table, which was why she was desperate to build a proper one. She had the plans sitting beside her as she ate. Of course, she didn't have enough information or DIY knowledge to figure anything out. She would have to wait for Mac to see what they needed, but if they had 12, maybe 14 cement blocks already, that was a great start. She thought maybe she could get all the materials for the deck out of the money she'd sold the car parts for, but she was pretty sure that wouldn't leave her enough to make it through the next few months while she awaited the Christies' money. Sure, Mac would pay her a little bit for working in his mom's garden, but it wasn't enough to keep her in food. Nan had been extremely generous as well, but Doreen couldn't spend that money on a deck renovation and not have enough to pay her utility bills, plus food for her and her animals, over the next 3 to 4 months. Speaking of which, she walked back inside with her empty plate and removed the rest of the vegetables from the bag. As she upended the bag, something small fell out.